film review, movies, music, culture, politics, society podcast, interviews, movie reviews, and more. Live Sundays at 5:30 p.m. on Facebook at Grayson.
Here we go, people. I don't know what's going on because we don't have our lights. Goodness. Let's fix that real quick, people, before we get started, because I don't know what's going on with this. But let's go like that, and then we start. Do we have a great show for you today, people? We have a jam-packed show. We have the lines lighting up. We have people calling in from all over the country to speak to us today, telling us what's happening in their cities, right? Yeah. So let me go through so I can get some equalization, because some people are calling in a little bit later. We want to say what's up to Grizel. Yes. She's hey, on the line. Yep. We're going to see who the 212 is. Hello, who do we have on the line? Foster. Hey, how you doing, Foster?
Hey, Foster.
Okay, so we're going to put...
I'm blessed. How are you guys today?
Oh, good. So we're going to go through the blurbs. You know how we do. And then we're going to be bringing up the various different industry people in. So stay tuned for that. So we're going to put you back on hold real quick. All right, Foster?
Okay, no problem, sir.
All right. Let's see. I'm going to go through all the lines. I'm going to go through all the lines.
Okay.
Who do we have on the line?
Michael Campbell.
Hey, how you doing, Michael?
Hey, Michael.
Okay, so we're gonna
Hey, how are you?
Okay, so I'm gonna put you back on hold because we're gonna go through the blurbs first, and then we're gonna bring everybody up. Everybody's calling in right at the right time. All right, so we're gonna put you back on hold real quick. Okay, let's see. That is Foster. Save. We got Michael. Who do we have on the line?
Who do we have on the line? Trying to get in.
Hey, what's going on? Okay, turn your listening device down so that we can talk to you without the... Yeah, because we're getting feedback from that. You gotta listen through your phone. Who are we speaking with? Hello? Okay, let's put that.
Hello?
Yeah, who's on the line?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Who's on the line?
This is Keith Lee.
Hey, how you doing, Keith? Okay,
hey,
I'm just okay, so we're gonna get started. Everyone is calling in and we got everyone on the line. So we're going to get started with the blurbs. We're going to put you back on hold, and then we're going to get started with the discussion. All right?
Okay.
All right.
All right, no problem. Let's just say.
All right. All right, people. So first of all, we want to say you got to know when to hold them.
Know when to fold them.
Know when to walk away.
Know when to run.
You never count your money.
When you're sitting at the table.
Because there'll be time enough for counting.
When the dealing's done.
You know, the gambler went home on Friday. Kenny Rogers.
Yeah.
You know, he passed away on Friday, March 20th. We want to say condolences to the family.
Yeah.
And, you know, he was a crossover artist. He crossed over into us with the help of Lionel Richie.
Yeah.
And he helped Lionel Richie cross over to...
with the country.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So, you know... we had to give him kudos because we grew up watching him on TV. They had the Gambler movie and other movies.
My grandfather.
Yeah. So we want to say, people, do you have your gloves? You see I have my blue gloves on. And do you have your mask? Because this is crazy, right? How to protect yourself. So let's go through the blurbs, right? So the blurbs, there's been a lot of blurbs in the news, and pretty much all the blurbs are about pretty much the same thing. So let's bring this graphic up real quick. Okay, so the film review blurbs. The first thing up is how to protect yourself at the gas pump, right? So let's bring this up. How to protect yourself at the gas pump. Do you remember a few years back when it was protect yourself from the hypodermic needles that they were somehow placing in the lever mechanism that you would press to pump gas? All of a sudden, people were leaving hypodermic needles with HIV
Yeah.
on them,
Yep. I remember.
right?
That. Yep.
And now it's somehow they're going to leave the coronavirus on it, right? On the pump handle,
Right.
right?
Right.
Now, it's corona. Now, have you seen these videos, people? It's a disturbing trend going on, and we're going to show these real quick to you. The first two videos show
Yeah.
two men at different times on subways pulling their masks down, licking their fingers, and rubbing it on the handrails,
Purposefully.
right? Purposefully to spread
The virus.
corona. So as you see this, as the person is doing it with the camera, as you see this guy,
Yeah.
he licks his mouth and he rubs it on the handrail, right?
Right.
To pass on the virus. And he slowly puts his mask up. And with the magic of editing, it looks like he looks at the other guy on another train. He fiddles around in his mouth and he rubs it on the handrail of the tram or the train or the subway, right? Now, this is insane, especially what's going on now. Here's a lady from China
Right.
who spits on the elevator buttons that people will get on. And one of her neighbors gets on, because obviously she has the virus.
Right.
And why not pass the virus on to those who are more healthy? Why not do that, huh? So then one of her people gets on, they get on, and then she presses a button. Now, if she touches her face, her nose, her mouth at any time, she will have what this woman has, because you see she's covering up. The woman is standing back in the back just watching, and she's covering her face, right? I mean, this is, and as you see, the Chinese have tissue holders within their elevators to help people
Yeah.
be more sanitary during this moment. And this woman is doing this, right? I mean, this is insane. Then there comes with another, she's rubbing some more, right? And then there comes another scene where the guy gets on and he spits in his hand and he rubs the virus on, as you see, he's rubbing the virus on the numbers, spitting in his hand and rubbing on the numbers. This guy takes tissue that the Chinese have in their thing and rubs the numbers, spitting on them to try to get people sick with this virus. I mean, it's just
Wicked.
It's just wicked. Now, this isn't just happenstance, people. This isn't just happening, right? Because an article came out
Yesterday.
right? Came out yesterday, and let me pull this up real quick before we get to talking here. So, all right, people. So, okay. So that's another example here. Here's the one I'm looking for right here. Okay. So the federal law enforcement is saying have been documenting, and their documents reveal white inferiority organizations. I don't call them white supremacists.
Right.
They're inferior, or they wouldn't have fear. Discuss using coronavirus as a bioweapon, right? So they've been talking about this since February.
Wow.
They've known about this, since it came out, and they said, well, if we catch it,
Right.
then everyone we might as well spread it, right?
That's what they're doing.
And that's what they're doing, right? So none of this is in happenstance. The two gentlemen, if I can say that they're gentlemen, that were on the subway cars, it's not by, happenstance or just by coincidence that they happen to be doing this in two different cities, right?
Right.
If you get this,
Right.
then it's your obligation to spread it, right? Take spring break. People are sheep, right?
Right.
There's a video going around where there's a audience and the guy is filming it on his cell phone. Now, he has this swoopy, he's blonde and pale, and he has this swoopy hairdo. Now you know that swoopy hairdo where the part is on one side,
alt-right.
and they're they're trying to kind of emulate Adolf Hitler.
Yeah.
Right. He's filming, right?
Right.
So how easy is it to have people be sheep and say, yeah, let's go out here and do this, so that you can help get them in the water, help get them places, spray things that will get them sick, and then they take the virus back to their people, right?
Right.
Now, the New York Post has another image of another Chinese person actually spitting on the keys of the elevator, right? Okay, so the feds report chatter of white inferiority groups discussing using coronavirus as a bioweapon.
Right.
Weekly intelligence. They want to target law enforcement in non-white communities, right? Designed to infect with the coronavirus. Now, this is their new designation for white extremists. They call them white, radically motivated, violent extremists. They say they are obligated to spread coronavirus if they contract the virus, right?
Okay.
Suggested ways of spreading the virus. Spreading in public among perceived enemies. Leave saliva on door handles at local FBI offices. Spitting on elevators, we've seen that.
Right.
And spreading COVID germs to non-white neighborhoods. Is this one of the big reasons? Now, this is the question. Is this one of the big reasons why they're actually shutting down cities? Because they realize that these people are out to do just that.
Yeah. It could be.
Are they shutting down cities because they realize the people are out to do that and spread this virus, and they don't want the panic to happen, such as people finding out that these people are spreading this virus and they're spreading it amongst their own people. See, it's not a coincidence. Some agents feel that they're
honorary Aryans,
spreading amongst their people. Aryans are spreading amongst their people because the people at spring break, they listen to hip hop music. And so what would they say? Okay, those people are not our people. Spread amongst the people. Then spread it in the non-white neighborhoods amongst perceived enemies. So is this what's going on? Right? As we get into going to the phone lines, we're gonna bring up three people right now. We have Foster V. Corridor. We have Michael Campbell from Bop TV, and we have Keith Lee, independent filmmaker. And by the way, Foster V. Corridor is an independent filmmaker, cinematographer, and director. And we've had, except for Michael, we've had each one of these on the show. All right, so let's bring everyone up here. Okay, how's everyone doing tonight?
We're doing just fine. Doing fine. Thank you for having us on. We're having me on for sure.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you. Blessed and highly favored.
Yeah, so we lost the call because we had the female perspective, and hopefully they call back in so we can have them on the air. But anyway, we have the fellas on, and we are glad to have you on. And so, first of all, let's start with Foster. What's happening in LA right now as far as the shutdown is concerned, and how is it affecting the industry? And I need everyone to turn down anything that they're listening to outside of listening through your phone, so that we can have a clean playback when we replay.
Probably put if you're not talking, putting your mute on is the best way to go.
Okay.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. Put your mutes on, fellas, until I call you. Go ahead, Foster.
Yeah. And what I was going to say is, as far as LA goes, Hollywood, it's pretty much shut down. You know, I had 3 shoots scheduled before the middle of April, and pretty much all 3 of them are on hold. And if you go to the LA film office for permits, the office is closed. So if the city is not handing out permits, then you know pretty much the business is shut down. Mm-hmm. And the mayor has that stay-at-home effect. So it's pretty much like the rest of the nation. You know, like New York, LA is just, it's sort of a ghost town. You know, I was on the freeway yesterday, and where there was only probably, you know, between 5 and 20,000 cars on the road, and the 40 or 50 miles I had to go. And when normally that would be about 500,000 cars.
Now that's a lot to say, because the freeways are animal in LA. I just say it's animal in LA, right? So what does that feel like to see that desolation in the streets, and then how are you personally coping with it, dealing with it, and how is the American black population dealing with it?
Well, that's an interesting question. You know, the American black population is kind of hard for me to answer unless, you know, I call some people that live necessarily in the inner city, because I happen to live in the suburbs. I'm 22 miles outside of the city, in an area called San Dimas. So it's not really urban, but the story is the same everywhere. You know, it's a ghost town. I have to admit, the freeway being empty, it's a blessing, you know, but I try to drive on Sunday mornings, you know, about 4:30, 5:30 in the morning on Sunday morning. That's when I do my writing, because the freeways are totally empty in Los Angeles, and you can go downtown, it's totally empty, and I just take a notepad and drive around. You know, you can go from Malibu to Long Beach to, you know, to Ontario, all inside an hour and a half in the morning on Sunday morning. So I just write that time. So the freeways now are close to that type of atmosphere where it's really, you know, deserted. I don't know how long. I don't think they can do this. Keep businesses shut down, you know, any more than a week. It's gonna get really hard for people.
Hey, we want to say what's up to people who are watching. What's up to Nikki Rich? What's up to Ed Martin? Nikki Rich says she remembered. So let's go to Michael in ATL in Atlanta. What's happening in Atlanta as far as the shutdown, and then what's happening as far as the industry is concerned?
So, Atlanta's pretty much the same as New York and LA. Atlanta, the film industry is dead. The music industry is dead. Things like collaborations and recording and productions, they're on hold, right? I spoke at an event that was given by Georgia, I think it was Georgia Production Partners, or TAG, Technology Associates of Georgia. And I posed the question, this is maybe about a year ago, what would happen if there was no more film industry? What would happen to that? What would that look like? And they all looked at me like I was crazy. And, you know, we have to be prepared for that, especially as a people. We need to really grow what we're doing. And this is an example. if you're moving too fast and you're not moving righteous, God will shut you down and make you realize what's really going on out here. Now, I know I'm sounding spiritual on this thing, but I look at it from an African perspective and all kind of perspectives.
Mm-hmm. So expand on what do you mean by not being righteous? Let's expand upon that a little bit.
The film industry, or Black Hollywood as you would call it, right, is really, really based on the film industry in Atlanta is based on the big boys. The incentives, all the things that are there are built on the big companies that come in to shoot. They're not here because they want to help grow the film industry. They're here because of a tax break. They're here because of money, and it's structured that it does not help people of color that are in the film and television industry. So the independents, they really represent the majority. If you add up their money and the amount of production they do in a year, it's actually greater. But we're kissing the ass of the majors, right? And the independents don't get really much of anything. And we're out here grinding every day. I feel bad for them.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, Keith, in Stockton, California, what's happening in Stockton, California, and doesn't so because you're only like 45 minutes away from San Francisco, from the Bay, from Oakland. What's happening in those cities right now as far as the film is concerned and as far as the shutdown is concerned?
So right now in Stockton, we're just, I guess you could say that everybody has high hopes here. This is a strong city. We're not scared of nothing, but right now it's about being smart. And being close to San Francisco, the area, we're right outside of them, probably like you said, 45 minutes at the most to Oakland and San Francisco. But the shutdown started going down last week. I'm in Stockton. We didn't get shut down first. Shut down. We seen everything coming on TV before it even hit us first. And actually, we didn't shut down until like a couple of days. The president had to announce that the whole state everywhere shut down. And then it came on, I guess our governor came on and said that the whole state was shut down for California. But the atmosphere here in Stockton, it's kind of relatively new. We're just now getting on shut down. So there's still people outside on the street because I live more towards the inner city, I guess you could say, the hood. And a lot of people don't have cars and bikes and all that, so they're walking around, and the law isn't enforced here. But I did notice that we did get, that they said was going on in San Francisco. We see how they was hoarding the toilet paper. Hoarding, I ain't gonna say hoarding because people are trying to save their own life. And I don't know what specific each person doing with their stuff. But I know that I live, in this area, and there's a lot of older people. And I had to go out at 6 in the morning to try to get some food and stuff. And this before they did the closing, and aisles was empty there and everything. So the time we got the shut down, most of our aisles and stuff was here kind of like empty. We still have cars on the road and stuff like that, but you have to really wait your turn to get your products or whatever you're trying to get, your canned goods. You have to wait in line here still because everybody's still right now still trying to just take care of themselves. Because in 2 more days, we're pretty sure it's going to be a major lockdown the way it is now going right now because we kind of like mapped it out towards Italy. Like not too long ago, Italy was at 600. And then when they hit 10,000, they said that we were 11 days behind them. And they got shut down in Italy at 10,000. And when we hit 10,000 in the United States, they shut everything down here now. And now we're at 30,000. And when Italy hit 90,000, I think that they're somewhere around 90,000, couldn't nobody go in and out of the city no more. So I don't know what's going to happen when we hit 90,000. I don't know if this is man-made or not, but I know that you do need to be smart about it and protect yourself. A lot of people here are, I guess, in still like disbelief because a lot of people aren't practicing the 6 feet distance yet. They're not practicing that. I still see people, like when I went to get some gas, but you have to protect yourself when you go up there and get some gas and stuff with gloves. But right now here in Stockton,
we're just now getting it together with it right now. But everybody's in high hopes and good spirits, and everybody's hopeful about getting through it, though.
All right, so everybody can come off mute. Let's get the discussion going between you, between the fellas here. Were American blacks prepared? Was the larger society prepared? And what do you think right now is the ramifications of being prepared or not being prepared at this moment? Whomever wants to go first.
Well,
I think that go ahead.
Go ahead, Ron, go ahead.
My concern, rather than fear, my concern is martial law. My concern is prison camps being turned into quarantine stations. My concern is us leaving our homes and everything to be hemmed up in these places that look very much like prisons.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, this is Foster, and I don't necessarily see that happening. That is what happened in the past, and this is a new deal.
Okay.
And times are different.
Okay.
They won't have to resort to that. What we're not being told is the simple truth is we're all going to get this coronavirus or whatever name it goes up under, but we're all going to get it. That's the thing that they're not saying. You can stay in your house as long as you want to for the next 2 weeks or the next 2 months. Eventually, you're going to get it. And that's what we're not being told. And the only question is, are you healthy enough to survive it and be able to be sick for 2 weeks and still function? If you have, as they say, pre-existing conditions, if you're having health problems, it is definitely going to trim society's cannon fodder off. So I don't think that it is necessarily targeting a group, as a specific group, as it is out there. Now, where it came from, who can know? Whether it's in some U.S. lab or some Chinese animal thing, it doesn't matter at this point. What does matter is survival. So I don't think it's gonna, as everybody was panicking and running about toilet paper and all that, that was the initial panic for something new and fear. But the reality that's gonna come out real soon is everyone is gonna get it. So that's why they're trying to come up with something to, fight it off with some sort of drug. But we're all gonna get it. And right now, you just need to be able to be healthy enough to fight it off. That's it. From my perspective. I'll be quiet now.
Keith?
Okay, this is Keith Lee.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of agree with the brother that, yes, the majority of the people is going to get it, and that's guaranteed. They said between 60-80% in New York going to get it. Germany talking about 80% for sure. Spain is up there. LA is saying that they're going to definitely oversee 50%. But for the people that can get through this, or if you're just even trying to, I think that they just at yourself. Look at France. France, Spain, and Italy. Try to stock up what you can, because like he said, I don't know if this is government-made, man-made, or if it's really just something that's really out there. But try to protect yourself and your family. Try to, if you can, get gloves. If you can, get goggles, because for some reason that they're saying don't wear masks, but I don't believe that you should wear a mask to the store anyways. And try to protect your family. If you know you're sick, self-quarantine yourself. And we're going to lose a lot of black people to this, because we're only 13% of the nation now. And 13% of the population, and a lot of majority of the blacks living in the inner city and not being well informed about this. it's going to take a toll on us, and it's going to be another negative thing for us. We're not well equipped to qualify with instructions. We don't have any black leaders that's out there. I mean, Rihanna just came out now and said she wants to buy ventilators. I haven't heard from any major rap stars, anything, or any actors saying that, hey, you guys, we're up here. We heard from one of the doctors up here. You guys stay in your house, quarantine yourselves. You guys get your canned goods, get your lemons in your water, buy bottled water. Because I believe that they were telling people to buy bottled water, and people were stacking it up, but you're supposed to drink that bottled water every day. And if you can, maybe do some gargle with some salt water twice a day, once and at night. But don't panic about this, because like he said, this can be a form of disease, or I mean of a flu, but worse than that, and you probably will have to quarantine yourself for 14 days. But just be ready for that, and don't think that everybody's not going to die. I don't believe that. Probably will get sick, but you'll be able to get through it, like he was saying. But in case you do, please try to read up on this and educate yourself and your family, and don't be out there shooting dice, drinking Hennessy, and not taking it serious, because you could take that back to your family, back to your grandmother, because a lot of people live with their grandmother, so you can take it back to your grandmother, your grandfather, you can take it back to your auntie. So right now, it doesn't seem like it's in the air, but we're probably like 10 days behind Italy. So by next week, probably be a lot of deaths there, and a lot of people will be scared to come outside, but to go get their food. So definitely educate yourself now, because you don't lose nobody in your family. Just because you don't know enough doesn't mean you can't learn enough. I mean, the internet's still on.
That's true.
The majority of the part is just educate yourself right now, and have faith. You gotta have faith. Faith without works is not going to work. You gotta have faith. That's for sure.
What's going on to LaKayla? I see her chiming in on the on Facebook. So I'm going to ask this question. I'm going to read a comment that Ed Martin said. Why aren't we as American blacks more into the sciences and more into the biochemistry of things? Think about that for a minute. I'm going to read what Ed Martin said. Don't agree. If race is involved, why is it on every continent and country on the world? And the main point of the opening was to talk about how white inferiority organizations are trying to use it as a bioweapon, right? So it's going across, but they're trying to use it as a bioweapon to have their ultimate goal, which they call, let me find what the word is for that, so I can say it what they call it. They call it Accelerationism, which is they believe to collapse the society so that Nazis can take over. It has to be destabilized by any means. Right. So as we see these people putting the from out their mouths, putting the contagion on handles, spitting on elevator numbers, buttons. This is to get rid of a population who they feel may not be necessarily even their own people, who look like them, who they feel are not going their way. And would that not be more of a way, more hysteria for people, that people are looking and saying, well, I don't know who this is. They're looking at their own people strange. Not only is it a race thing, but it's also culture, depending on how you walk, how you talk as individuals. Maybe you get along with black people, maybe you get along with white people, and within the middle of that is someone that's trying to spread a contagion to wipe you off the planet, right? So I believe myself that the government sees this, and that's why they're saying they're trying to stop it, because why is it spreading so much in certain populations?
You know, look what happened in Washington, like the way it just...
Look what happened in New York. All of a sudden it's just spreading in areas that are affluent. And what are most people who are practicing white inferiority? They're mostly kind of poor. Why is it affecting affluent areas? So if you want to chime in on that, but pretty much the question was, why aren't we more in tune with things like biology and all that, science and all that? Why are we lacking in that area?
This is T3.
Okay.
I feel like we are lacking in that area because all we ever know, it's like a cliche, everybody says the same thing. All we have is, if you're not a basketball star or something coming up the ghetto, then you're not considered as making it. And with us not having any lawyers, doctors, and seeing that like it's in the white neighborhood, they see that all the time. Bob next door is going for a degree. Such and such down the street, Susie's going for a degree. But if you're not raised on that and everybody's not on that, back in the South, that's all it was. Go to an HBCU college, go to an HBCU college. California, it's not like that. Go to a black college. They're just like, go get a job, 9 to 5. And if that's all you put into a kid's head, instead of you could be a doctor or you could be a lawyer or a biologist or a scientist, then we don't even know that you can go that far. And by us not having that many black astronauts or famous biologists or scientists out there to let the kids know that they're out there and they can believe and become that, then it's kind of hard for us to even go that direction. But hopefully in the future to change after this, maybe people want to be doctors and want to cure things. Maybe they want to cure this coronavirus. Maybe we'll get people looking at other people different. But that's my take on it.
All right. Well, this is Foster, and I have to say I have to push back on that because we do have plenty of black doctors and lawyers and all the rest. The problem,
not in the ghetto.
Oh, sure. Well, see, period. And when you talk about the per capita, the problem is that the media that we consume is sending out the messages of all we are rappers and basketball players. You see, that's why you look who owns the radio stations in the communities and all other stuff. Even the record. Look at all the media that we consume is set up on a suicide mission, on a self-genocide mission. And when we listen to the music with the bitches and the hoes and the niggas and the guns and all it is about big booty girl, that is programming your mentality. So it's not that we don't have people going to school. All the black colleges are filled with people, African American people and Latino people trying to uplift themselves. It's not like it was 30, 40, 50 years ago where people were keeping us from going to school. We've crossed that bridge, in my opinion. Now it is controlling some of the media, the content that we're getting. It's a damn shame that the Kanye's and the other rappers and all we do is look to the Oprah Winfrey's and stuff for leadership, and it's like our content, we don't own the media, and that's a slave mentality problem because these basketball players and football players and doctors and lawyers and people of wealth, they've been programmed and trained to not trust each other, to not pull together, put their money together to control the system, rather buy into it and be part of it. All the sports, 99% of the sports athletes out here, they have non-black agents, they have non-black attorneys, they have non-black, managers. It's the same thing with your actors and, your filmmakers, that none of them are rooted. None of them are trying to reach back and pull up people. When you see the Spielbergs and the Zemeckis and the Ron Howards, and you look at how they have structured their company and surrounded themselves with people and brought up people behind them who help them. They look at it as a community thing and not even being racist, but, for example, the Jewish community. The Jewish community makes sure that they maintain a certain foothold and power structure in entertainment. But nobody black is interested in that. Jay-Z is not interested in that. He's doing business with the football commissioner, but nobody is consciously trying to build black businesses in. So That's my opinion. I don't think that we don't have it. I think that it's just not being seen and promoted as much as the negative images are. I'll be quiet now.
If I could, I'd like to say something on that.
Go ahead.
So I own a black television network. And one of the problems that I have is that trying to get black people to stop feeling that or being enriched in the slave mentality that everything white is good, that we have to be alongside them, that we have to be around them, that some kind of way uplifts us, right? So if I want to become NBC, I cannot become NBC unless you support me. But everybody is looking at the holy grail of Netflix, and everybody's looking at the holy grail of whatever, and we're getting fooled by rich Jews who will not even fund a piece of content if they can't control the narrative of how it's done to make us look a certain way and make them look a different sort of way. The music business is damn near dead because the Jews pulled out of the music business because they could not keep fucking over people in the business, black people. And so they not now, because we could no longer be their bitch, pardon the phrase, but bitch, yes. Now it's a whole different world out here now. And we have to do for ourselves. We have to create for ourselves. We'll get through this, right? The Creator will get us through this, but after this, we cannot go back to the way we were. Absolutely not. It's unacceptable.
Okay, so let's get to some solutions, because as I remember, my parents came up through, they were children, but they came up through the Great Depression, right? So they came up, they knew how to preserve food, they knew how to stretch food. They had certain things that they still ate, like sardines and things like that, canned food, stocking up on canned food, having a pantry fully stocked, ready, having an extra freezer with stuff frozen in it. What are the steps that we as American blacks have to do to be prepared for something like this, any kind of catastrophe or event such as this, as a pandemic? What is it that we need to do, or we should be doing, to prepare ourselves next? Because we're looking for solutions. We talked about the problem. Now we need to go through solutions.
I think functioning in a way that is beyond a kind of extremism of sorts within your own house. Go above and beyond. Pretend that it's the farthest direction it could be. Really cover yourself. Don't leave out the house. Take super productive kinds of ways to protect yourself at all costs. And if you roll like that on that level, 100, 365, right? And you're rolling at that, you'll always keep yourself safe because you're not waiting for these gradual clues. You're already there.
Who's next? Solutions.
Okay, this is Keith.
Okay.
Go ahead, bro.
Go ahead.
Okay, this is Keith. What I think is we'll learn from this and take away from this is always to be prepared, because this just goes to show you that the rug can be swept from under you at any time. And I was reading something the other day that said always be prepared to have 2 weeks worth of food, and just because you never know, like a prepper, almost be like a prepper, and I guess educate yourself more on this, because this is not, I think it's population control, because it's going to hit the homeless and everything else. So by this taking process this time, I think that people could learn to be, I guess, more vigilant and more precise on what they're doing, because if you're not taking action now and accountability of what's happening, you're not going to be able to do it in the future. So you have to be able to pass this test. I mean, make a list, to-do list, everything that you need to do for the future. I mean, write stuff down, put stuff in jars, put it away for you for later on, because they said that this might come back. This is just not the end of it. It might come back in another season. So you better learn and prepare yourself from this time for the next time.
Oh, okay. I think that we as a people, you know how they always say, oh, black people don't think like a monolith. I think that at this point in, if you can call it a game, but it's really strict business here, we have to start to think like a monolith. We have to have some kind of rule set, art of war, so to speak. We spoke about that last week on the show, but there's no harm in thinking like a monolith because there are Orthodox and unorthodox Jews, but they have one thing in common: never again. They may argue over how they dress. You know, is one following the guidelines correctly versus the other one? Are you more secular? Like people say, like black people have a argument with being secular versus being spiritual or religious or being in the Gospels, right? We have to begin to think like a monolith on certain things, like our upliftment has to be monolithic in thought. What do you say to that? Hello? Anyone there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
I'll just let somebody else take it.
That's a good question. I agree with the, we needed a mindset that liked the Jewish community for forever. I mean, never again is a great example, no doubt about it. But you never hear us never again about slavery. To what would we begin with our never again? What is the subject that can unite all African American people, like the Jewish Holocaust? Where it touches everybody's family, and there's a fear of anti-Semitism striking again. Can you get all black people to think about there could be a slavery again? Can you get all black people to think that there would possibly be a somewhat of a genocide plot against African Americans? I don't know. I don't think so. I think that part of the problem that really we're facing today is part of that problem of non-unity. There is no black community in reality because there aren't any leaders or people who are looked at and respected across the spectrum of African American people, from the poor to the wealthy, other than a Barack Obama and Michelle Obama. Those people, yes, those are the only people who could start a mentality, a mind change, if so to speak. But I don't think that when the leaders of the church, which had traditionally been the backbone or the pillar of the black community, when the preachers started, with the molesting the children and the money stealing and homosexuality and all the different issues, that got fractured. So I don't see there being a pillar that could take up the mantle of a never again. And to go back a step with that same thing in mind to what the brother was saying about the television station and how black people supporting it, he's 150% true, because we have bought into, that's why that plays into this same statement or question that you're asking is, we have been so brainwashed and so programmed into being part of their system, being part of them. we don't even look to having our own. Every other nationality, every other race has their own. You know, you got Latin TV, you got Italian TV, you got Spanish and British and African, you got everything. There's no African American TV, you know. So the fact that I commend my brother for starting his own channel, and I wish him success, and I'd like to know more. You can share amongst all your guests, so we can support that effort. But that is the problem. We, you know, look at the stuff that we buy. You know, we'll spend $300 on a T-shirt from Cartier or you know, who is it, Yves Saint Laurent or
Louis Vuitton, Louis Vuitton, Polo.
Louis Vuitton. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Our mindset is we're not good enough. We have to reach out to them to prove, to show that we're good enough. We have to support their stuff. So I'll be quiet now.
Michael?
One of the things, you call my name. One of the things I would like to say about that is I don't think that monolithic description you give, I don't think that looking at the Jews might not be the greatest answer because the Jews own slaves as well, right? So I think if we have to look at what the answer might be, I think that answer would be in going back to our ancestors, going back to the ways of our ancestors before we took that ride that we didn't want to take here, right? So oftentimes I think about, well, what were we doing before the Bible? What were black folks doing in Africa before there was a Bible? Maybe we need to go back to the roots of all that. Maybe we need to start thinking more of that because the Jews are not a fine example in any way of doing anything honest. Their whole thing is built upon taking and taking and taking, right? And it's something that has to stop. I know how to do it right away. Change in this country is not going to come from getting very nice white folks to change their mind about how they've been treating us. This is all by design. So we bought into the thought that the grass was greener. We had our own baseball. We had our own football. We had our own all of that. And we thought that going into their kitchen, it would be better for us. Because we thought that their grass was greener, that their water tasted better. We thought all of that, right? And we bought into that because it was a lazy way to get in and do something because we didn't want to do it for ourselves. We wanted to be given to it. When you're in my kitchen in my house, you do what I say to do. So we came into their kitchen thinking we were going to be free to do what we want to do, but no, we're in their house. And when you're in somebody else's house, then they set the rules of the house.
Okay, so right now I have Self-Made, Madam C.J. Walker. Have any of you seen that on Netflix? Have you seen it? Speaking of Netflix, it's on there. So executive produced by LeBron James. Have any of you seen that? Starring Octavia Spencer.
Yeah, she also executive produced.
She also executive produced. Okay.
Directed by Delane Davis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm watching it tonight.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to spoil. Well, I have to spoil it a little bit. It's found out that she steals something. I'm just going to leave it like that. She steals something that is very important. The very thing that made her who she was. They tell you in the story that she actually stole it, and she admits that she stole it. So going through and talking about Michael, how you said that the Jews are something that they steal. This woman became a self-made millionaire from off of stealing something, right? So many things have been stolen from American black people. It wouldn't be so necessarily that you're stealing, but would it be that you're stealing it or taking it back? right? And so that's why I'm talking about a monolith that people have to go, like the athletes, they have the money and they could easily invest. Of course, there was an athlete for baseball that invested into, what's her name, the rapper? The female rapper that's out now. He was,
Meg Thee Stallion.
Meg Thee Stallion, and she turns around and goes with the larger conglomerate that happens to be owned by white folks, and it has a black face on it now. And she turns it and goes with this organization. And the other guy said, "Look, you're supposed to be paying me a certain percentage from off of these concerts,
right.
you know." And so what I'm saying is we have to start to think like a monolith to the point to where it hurts. It has to be a sacrifice. We have to not say that we can't start thinking like a monolith. We got to say we need to start thinking like a monolith, because the first principles of the art of war is all about believing in the leader to the point that you would be willing to die for it. And I don't think since they shot a couple of people back in the 60s, assassinated a couple of people back in the 60s, I don't think that we have been willing to die for that, and we may perish because we don't have vision now, and this coronavirus is here. And how many times have they talked about it? I remember there was a book out called Leviathan 666. They talked about all this. They talked about the cell phones. They talked about all that, and it was out there for everyone to read. But if you want to hide something from black people, put it in a book. If you want to hide something from a college student, put it on a bulletin board. They're going to walk right past it. My thing is, we need to start thinking like a monolith to the point, like, who was that? Dr. James Small, when I interviewed him, he said that the Europeans, when black people were in control of this world in Europe, they would walk past themselves every day, the European, and say, we got to get rid of them blacks. Every day. And that was their rallying. They thought like a monolith, and they rallied behind, we got to get rid of them blacks in power. Every time they walk, what's going on? We got to get rid of them blacks in power. When we walk past each other, we say, what's up, man? We got to put ourselves in the rightful place. We got to get rid of those people in power. What do you say to that? Ooh. Hello? Someone?
Well, I'm not trying to speak so much.
See, because we're about solutions. Like people will talk about the problem, but not come with solutions. And when you hear what the Europeans said about black people when they walked in, taught them how to clean themselves, how to walk upright, how to shave, how to have hygiene, how to grow things, how to plant, and then you turn around on the very people who taught you everything and said, we got to get rid of them blacks in power.
So everybody wants this iconic seat at the table, right? Mm-hmm. The problem with our own people that has to be corrected is we're not willing to get in the woods, get the wood, bring it back, build the tables, build the chairs, and start from there. We're in an age, and particularly with our with our youth, where many things are felt like they should be handed to us, and that is taking us back hundreds of years. To a point where how can you feel dependent and independent at the same time? That just does not work, right? So a lot of young people are not listening to their elders or taking the bits that they want to take and turn it into something smooth and easy to digest. Revolution is never easy to digest. Revolution is never something that's easy to get. As you said, you have to be willing to die for that. And you have to be willing to take on the responsibility of each other as a group.
Yeah, I would like to to add on to something onto that. And we need, like he was saying, we need more control, because as they were saying that about the black people, I mean, we had the Moors. They learned everything from the Moors, washing their hands and everything. But where they beat us at was that they took control over paperwork. They knew how to do the paperwork. So they patented everything. We didn't know about that. We couldn't even get our laws and patent and stuff. So now we're probably like, what we have to do now, once we get through this, we're going to have to take back control of ownership. I mean, the biggest person was Harvey Weinstein, and he's in jail for rape. And Oprah has a company, and she knows him. There's a lot of people out here with companies that can do things, but they're not going to take a chance on other black people, and that's another shame. I mean, we have Tyler Perry Studios. I'm not trying to pick up certain people, but we have to try to take control. Excuse me?
He said, don't be shamed.
Don't hold back. The truth is, right, the truth is the truth. Don't hold back on it.
Okay, yeah, we need to start our own streaming services. We have Amazon, Apple, Hulu, all these other things. We're not in control of anything. Like, I met a white guy before when I did my first movie, and his name is Doug Schwab from Maverick Films. And when I met Doug, I met him in Santa Barbara, and he opened up a whole photo album for me. And inside the photo album was Mexicans and blacks with all their movie posters in there. And Doug Schwab said to me, what do you know about all of these hundreds of minority posters in this book? I said, they're all minorities. He said, yeah, and I own them all. I bought them for $20,000, $30,000 each with no back points. So ownership is a big thing that you got to learn about too, and that's where I'm going. We have some type of way of ownership, because even Spike Lee had to go to Oprah and everybody else to get his movie made of Malcolm X back in the day. There's not a lot of that anymore. Blacks are, but that's not helping each other. They're only targeting certain black people right now and helping them right now. But if we all, I don't know how we're going to do it. Maybe we have to get a website later on or something, some type of agenda, so everybody can try to get together, because it's really hard when everybody's not getting together and there's no ownership. You definitely don't have no ownership on nothing.
So I'm asked all
owned by somebody else, by Marvel.
I'm asked a lot of times why I started Black on Purpose Television Network was for that very reason of opportunity and the ability to do for ourselves, right? But I'm competing against the white dream. I'm competing against your brothers and sisters making films that's hoping to get it on a white platform. You got brothers and sisters talking about issues on white platforms, and they don't understand, or they're perplexed when those things get shut down, right? That's because we need our own. It's difficult to talk about our issues plainly, simply, and with truth when it's on in the opposer's kitchen. It's very hard to make a meal, and we try to make a meal. You can't make a meal in somebody's kitchen without their permission. Most of the films that get made, and I can name a few, those films were altered in order to satisfy the taste of the white investors so that those movies could get done. Movies like Amistad, right? Even Harriet Tubman movie. You know, they put in anything they want, and if you want this money, then you're going to make it the way we want. We don't have to make, we want to see, when I go on Netflix, on the rare occasions that I do, I want to see people that look like me. So if you go on Netflix and you flicking through, looking for black, there is only so much black that Netflix is going to take. Netflix is never going to give you the impression that they're a black network, a black streaming network. It's never going to happen. And they keep upping the production criteria to keep you out because they keep getting a flood of black content. So they keep upping the cameras and the equipment that you need. We don't need that. Africa has become the #2 movie maker in the world on a very simple concept. You have a camera, I have lights, you have a script, you got sound, let's make a movie, right? So they don't have that issue before them. And they've turned that into a multi-billion-dollar industry. Yes, Netflix is coming over there trying to take China's in there trying to take over Africa. You got a lot of dynamics going on. But we have more resources to equipment, more resources to stuff, and we cannot get our shit together to even make something together in the way that Africa's doing it. Why? Because of the stuff we were taught by our former masters, and we can't get it away from us. There's this relationship of slave master to slave that still exists today, that is not changing, and we think that if it's white, then we need to stick with that or roll with white. And I can't stand that ignorance. It makes me crazy every day.
Hey, man, my brother, I hear you. That's so true.
Okay, people. Speaking of white slave masters, how do you think that Trump is handling the COVID-19 situation?
It's a joke. It's a joke. It's a joke. I mean, you know, he's using it. It's plain and simple. It's a re-election campaign issue for him. Period. Every time you see him on TV, it's only because he doesn't want Joe Biden on TV. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's way over his head. And, you know, it's like, it's not the reaction that the federal government should have, you know. I mean, as a ex-military guy, you know, I mean, you know, I know the power of the federal government. You know, when the United States wants to move on something, they move on it, you know, and, you know, it's ridiculous. I mean, when you look at Thailand did what America should have done the first 24 hours, you know, when they discovered that the problem was happening in China and they knew it was going to come to them. They started buying up the companies that make masks, that make respirators, you know. It's like, that was the move. And here, you know, Trump hasn't even put the federal government's weight into action to start federalizing companies and make them, you know, do the War Powers Act and act on it. So it's ridiculous. I mean, it's just ridiculous. But he's playing to his base, and, you know, white people who believe in him, and a few black people, you can't tell him anything. You can't tell him he can't do any wrong. So he's right about, he can shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue, you know. Right. So the people that believe in him, they're going to believe in it. The rest of it, we just have to turn out to vote, man. We just have to hope that him and his little cronies don't try to use this whole virus panic thing to push off the election so he can be president for longer than he, you know, which is his master plan anyway.
702,
of course, he's not doing it.
702, turn your radio down. I'm going to bring you in. Turn your listening and listen through the telephone. We have another phone call that's joining, another guest is joining us here. 702, who's on the line?
Hey, it's Jazz from the Bay. Jasmine's manager.
Hey, what's going on, Jasmine? All right, so we get the female point of view on all this now. Jasmine, let me type you in. Okay. So, Jasmine, have you been listening to the show, or have you been busy and just got a chance to get to the phone to call in?
Yeah, I just got to the phone to call in. So give me a briefing. What's going on?
Okay, well, we're talking. Okay, so what is happening in Las Vegas as a manager of a successful artist? Yeah. What's the music scene look like now since the clubs are shut down? So just give us the rundown of that, and what is the alternative plan to keep it moving?
So Wolf was scheduled to perform. He was actually booked for the entire month of March and the entire month of April. And I had to cancel all of those shows, obviously. But I do have an idea, and a lot of artists is doing it on Instagram. I think Erykah Badu kind of started it. She has a new album that she's getting ready to release, and she had a brilliant idea of doing a live listening party on Instagram, and I think you donate $1 to join.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought that would be a great idea for us. So I know right now we can't do a physical show, but we can do a virtual show. You know, it's possible. And I think this virus stuff, you know, it's unfortunate that people are losing their life over this. It's tragic, you know what I mean? Because I think there's more to it than what they're going to let us know, meaning the government. But I think, you know, the businesses are suffering, and there's just a lot of negative is coming from it. So we still have to survive, we still have to live, we still have to maintain. So, you know, it has to go on, you know what I mean? So for me as a manager, for my artists, I thought about so many ideas that I could put into place because of this virus, you know what I mean? Like everything doesn't have to be physical. Now we can go virtual. So open your mind to those ideas when it comes to music. It's a great idea.
Is the American Black music community, were they ready for this? You're out there, you're speaking to other managers, you're speaking to artists. Were they prepared for this, or were they lacking in certain areas?
I don't think they were prepared for it. Mm-hmm. I don't think so at all. Which is, I mean, I think honestly, as Americans, we got lazy. You know, we got lazy and we got comfortable. You know, this could have been an idea somebody should have thought about a long time ago with the virtual shows and things like that. You know, donate $1 to a charity to be a part of the virtual show, a live show, you know, on social media. Mm-hmm. But we got so used to just having our phones and clicking on this and just, you know what I mean? And it just, I don't think anybody was prepared for this. But it does open your mind to different businesses because obviously everybody's working either from home or can't physically go to work. So now you got to figure out another hustle from the house. You know what I mean? Hmm.
So what would be your top 4, top 5 moves in the future to keep Black people insulated from things, such a thing like this, like a pandemic? Like you can't get insulated necessarily from. You can't necessarily get inoculated from the virus possibly affecting you, but as far as the money and keeping everything flowing and not drying up, not going out of business, not losing, what are some of your ideas? Top 5 or top 4 or top 2 or number 1 to keep flowing? And then I want to ask everyone else, think about that, and one thing that can push and keep it moving.
I think for me, I can't speak for anybody else, but for me, I'm a mother, a single parent, I have 2 children. It's me and my children who live together. I would put in place a survival pack. Like, I know it sounds like some movie stuff, but it's real. You know what I mean? A survival pack for me and my children, that would have been so bomb, you know, if that was put into place. And then as far as our community, I just feel like saving. Like, I think in our community, we don't know how to save, and it's because we're not used to having money. You know, so I think that's the number 1 thing. Like, we got to learn how to save money and put aside for things like this, you know, for emergency situations, you know. And the one thing that affected me the most is with the kids, because that, you know, them going to school and not being able to finish their schoolwork for the rest at least until spring break, because they were going to go on spring break anyway. But these schools did not want to close. It was like Clark County School District did not want to shut down. You know, they wanted the kids to still be exposed, and they still felt like they weren't at risk. So it was just crazy. And then they didn't have no plan B on how the kids were going to do homework at home after they did get closed down. So that was like the number 1 thing. Preparing the kids for, you know, being away from school to do their homework at home with proper Wi-Fi, internet, you know what I mean? And then, like, a survival pack that includes, you know, the basics, toilet paper, some canned food, stuff like that. And just putting aside some change for this.
Okay, so let me bring this back. Who's on the line?
If I can, Michael Campbell.
Okay, hold on, Michael. Someone came in. 209. You're on the line. Who's on the line? 209. Okay, let me put you back on hold here. Okay, go ahead, Michael. So we've got survival pack to set up, have everything laid out already. The survival pack, food, tissue, all that added. What's next, Mike?
Okay, so I want to say just one thing. Just like we're going through this right now, consider, if you will, right? You're watching Black on Purpose television, and you get this information that Congress has just now declared a war on Black people. We're not doing nothing more for them. We're not doing nothing more for Black people. Think of that as a epidemic. What would Black folks need to do? There would be a sudden shift of selfishness from Black people if they thought that their obligation to their former masters were now disrupted with their realization that they had no more need for Black people. What would be the reaction at that point? How would people change in the way they treat each other? How would people change the way they move, the way they function? They would see sudden unity because survival would kick in. As long as white folks are there to bail us out, we'll keep depending on them. We'll keep depending on Netflix. We'll keep depending on the coonery and buffoonery of Tyler Perry and others. We'll keep going with that. You follow what I'm saying? We'll still worship almighty Oprah. We'll still go through that same bullshit over and over again until we get hit with the big stick upside the head. All right? So what we have to do is not just prepare a kit for food. We need to prepare a mind kit. We need to prepare a brain kit for our children and for our families. We need to give information to each other. That's the kind of kit beyond the food kit we need, an information kit to pass on to our children.
Okay. Foster?
Yes, hello?
Yeah.
Foster.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I'm here.
Okay, so what type of preparation do American Black people have to move forward? So we have the survival pack, we have the prepare a mind kit. What's your thoughts on it?
Well, I'll be honest. I don't have a lot. I mean, I'm so in line with this gentleman, and I'm sorry, I don't know his name, but
Michael.
With the mind kit, the mind. Yeah, Michael, is it?
Yeah, Michael Campbell. About TV.
Michael, yeah. Michael pretty much took the words out of my mouth. I love it. It's like the mind kit is the thing because, on a certain level, with the way society is, we're all in the same boat with preparedness. I mean, we live in California, so this is earthquake territory. So you always should have some water and some food and basic necessities, tucked away. Not for coronavirus or nothing else, just for it could be an earthquake any moment. And I always believe that earthquake comes at 3 o'clock in the morning. If you don't have flashlights and some water and whatever necessary, then you're out. And that's not just a Black thing. That's just a human thing, and that's just survival period. But when it does come to the Black side, the African American community or whatever across this country, I think the mind survival is the thing, and we should be putting that in place right away. But again, how do you get to now? And Michael said he didn't think that the Jewish way was the way, and again, I agree and I disagree with that because I think that for an example, that you gave, never again, the Jewish model is a great model because that shows a real sense of community and unity. For the things that he mentioned, I agree. It's, the Jewish community is not a good, they're nobody to hold up in terms of being envious of them or wanting to be like them or praising them, because, just that whole Palestinian Jewish thing is so wrong on so many different levels. It's pathetic. But as far as what you said, never again. We need a never again. And that mindset of what Michael said about if the government said we're not doing anything for black people, I think they already said it when they voted for Trump. It's
already done.
Go ahead, Jasmine. Jasmine. Yeah, go ahead.
For the most part, when he came in. So I think that, Trump could be or should have been the best wake-up call black folks could have got instead of looking for somebody to help you and give you something or help you at all. Just take the mindset that help is not coming. So what can we do amongst us? But again, Michael has hit on several things that I personally agree with, that we are so beholden to this being part of the white community. We are so set on if it's not right, if it's not accepted by white people, then it's not valid. It's not, we still have the slave mentality, that less than mentality. And that's a shame, that's the thing that we have to, recover from or get out from under before we'll ever have a possibility of doing anything. We have to realize and recognize that we are kings and queens and that they will follow us. It's just that right now they have to own us first before they let us shine. And I don't know what the answer is. Just to be honest right now, I don't know, but I know what is not working. And that's where we're presently at. Mm-hmm. And again, I'm done. I'll be quiet.
Are you on the line?
The Jews may have a motto of never again, but we have a motto again and again. Again and again. And we have to change that motto of again and again, right? I don't look up to anybody that doesn't respect me as a man and does not respect me as a black man, that does not respect our children, that offers us horrible deals in the film and television industry with no respect, no regard to me as a black man who's a single parent raising my children. I have no respect for them whatsoever because they have none for me. And they haven't had it since the beginning of film and television and the music industry, because there have been managers that have done nothing but take from us and give nothing back. Go to a Korean merchant right now and ask them to chip in money for food to help black people with this coronavirus. Ask them to buy you T-shirts for your kids' baseball or dance thing or whatever they're doing in the community. They want to be in the community, but they want to steal from it. And we're too stupid to understand because we're stuck on being dependent and not on independence. So we go from kings and queens to bums and traps. We go to singing about the things that made us big to now singing about things that we don't want our children to hear. We're making content, we're making music. We don't even, when our kids are coming up, we don't want them to listen to it.
Right. Well, Michael, when you say again and again, the difference with that never again and again is never again is conscious. What you're saying about the overall community again and again is a subconscious, unconscious repeating of the same thing. It's a denial of the reality, and it is a hopelessness, because again, we don't know any better because what we're seeing, I mean, to me, it's a society thing. It's the media thing. You have to get it in there.
The biggest question I get asked from black folks are, why did you call it black on purpose television? Why did you call it that? Couldn't you have toned that down a bit? I don't give a damn about toning nothing down. I'm trying to bring something. I'm not trying to they always want us to do something to change how it appears to them, rather than the truth. The truth does not need defending. The truth defends itself.
Okay, hold on, Michael. Keith, are you on the line?
Yes.
Okay, so what is your one solution? Because so far we have survival pack, prepare a mind kit again with a different way of saying of going along with the way that the Jews say never again. What's one of the things that American blacks can prepare themselves so that something like this won't touch them as hard as it's touching them now, affecting them now?
I guess prayer. It's prayer. But if you're really looking at it that way, I mean, we gotta have ownership, and you gotta have good energy and spirit, and a gusto about yourself, because you gotta put one foot after the other. Nothing's going to be handed to you, so you're gonna have to get out there and go and make it your own, whether it be guerrilla filmmaking, independent, or anything. You're gonna have to have that in you, because some people have a wishbone where the backbone is supposed to be. And we're going to have to take charge and ownership and let people know that we're not scared of nothing. We can stay in charge, but we're going to have to become in ownership and not be scared. So can't have no fear. No fear.
Yep. Okay, so that is the saying of the night.
Yes. A
wishbone where a backbone should be. No fear. All right, so survival pack, prepare a mind kit. Right. Mind kit, never again, and no fear.
Right.
And don't have a wishbone where there should be a backbone. All right, so we're coming up with solutions here at the Film Review, Movies, Music, Culture, Politics, and Society. Right. And we have only about 30 minutes left. Can you believe that this time moved this fast? Mm-hmm. But listen up. I'd like to thank Foster V. Corridor. Michael Foster B. Corridor, cinematographer, lighting, script, director, editor, Michael Campbell, CEO of BOP TV, Black on Purpose Television, Jasmine, manager and promoter, marketer for Whoop Dotson. If you haven't heard Whoop Dotson's music, it's incredible. And of course, last but definitely not least, Keith Lee, independent filmmaker who has his products out everywhere. We reviewed his film on here, and he's also on Amazon with his American Crime. I want to make sure I get that right. But anyway, so in closing, last minute, how people can get in contact with you, starting with Keith Lee.
Keith Lee Movies, Instagram.com, Keith Lee Movies on Facebook, Keith Lee Movies on YouTube.
Keith Lee Movies on
L-E-A, L-E-A.
L-E-A, that's right. Hold on, okay, let me make sure. Yes, okay. So I'm going to let you go, and then we're going to go on to Jasmine, because we're going to go move on with the rest of the show. So thank you for calling in, and we will talk again.
Thank you for having me, and much success to you guys. Thank you very much. Much success. Bye.
All right, Jasmine, tell them how they can get in contact with you. Go ahead.
Okay, so on Instagram, my name is Jazz from the Bay, so it's Jas, the number 4, RMDABAY. On Facebook, it is Jasmine LD. My last name is spelled ELLZ, like in zebra, EY. And you can reach my artist is Wolf Dotson, and he's King Wolf Dotson on Instagram, and he's Wolf Dotson on Facebook. I think his YouTube is Wolf Dotson as well. There's a link in my bio. That's another way to contact me. You can just click the link in my bio on Instagram.
All right. Thank you for calling in, and we will speak again.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Michael Campbell, Bop TV.
Okay. You can reach me via email, blackonpurposetv@gmail.com, blackonpurposetv@gmail. We're on all social media as Black on Purpose, and you can also, if you like, hit us up on the web, boptv.com, BOPTV.com.
All right. Thank you for calling in, and of course, we're going to speak again.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. And last but not least on the line is Foster V. Corridor, cinematographer, editor extraordinaire. You name it, he does it. Electrician, grip, making sure that the magic is lit right, sounds right, looks right, to be finished, to be put on the big screen. How do they get in contact with you?
Sir, just Google Foster Quarter. There are a number of ways. All of those, YouTube and Instagram and Facebook and all that will come up. Foster Quarter, FOSTERCORDER. But I want to say that I'm really happy to find out about Michael. I've already Googled Black on Purpose TV, and I'm going to be checking out some of his programming and what he's doing, because that really sounds exciting. I'm happy for him and making that effort. And also, I want to put out a plug that, now that the Black News Network, are you familiar with that?
Yes. Yes, I am.
Spectrum now?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so, some of my family's involved in that. So, we want to wish them success and congratulate them on their launching and everything that they're doing. So, we're making moves slowly but surely, but I love what Mike said. It's we need a mind survival pack right now.
Yeah.
I think our president was the best wake-up call we could get. Don't look for help, because there's no help coming. And I think this coronavirus is a perfect example of that. And it's not just Black people. So, there's a racial component, but, I think it's a have and have not. It's a wealthy and not wealthy. When you look at who corona testing kits were available for, initially for the last 2 weeks. You see, people with money were able to get tested when they wanted to. Yeah. People without money, we still waiting. So, it's interesting, but thanks so much for doing this show, and thank you so much for having me on. You guys, and did you, let's just jump in the subject for a second. Did you guys do the discussion about 12 Monkeys yet? Or did I miss
No. We're getting ready to do that right now as soon as we finish up. So stay tuned for that.
I can see that on Facebook.
Yeah. It's on. We're on Facebook on the Crazon Dion. I shouldn't have said that because they don't want to be advertised. But anyway, that, or you can go right to our YouTube, to the Film Review Life channel, and we're right there streaming right now. We're simulcasting. Yep.
All right.
So thanks for
Thank
you so much.
Thank you, and we will talk again.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, people. So look, that we had an all-star lineup. If you don't know these individuals that are in this production game independently, you got to feel how they think and how they move, and the first 4 things that we put down, because we're about solutions here.
Yeah.
And so we're about making sure that people, that we move forward as a group of people, American blacks. We do have to start to begin to think like a monolith. Right? We have to think, it would take one aspect that we can agree on and move forward with that. Right?
We have to add that aspirin and Tylenol to the package.
Okay. Okay, people. So let me just say about the. Let me put this up here real quick so we can get to 12 Monkeys real quick, because it's not much that you can say about self-made, as usual in this new era of Me Too. It makes the black man look like sexist, misogynist, cheating, no good, low down people, while the black woman is trying to do. And my thing is, if you're going to do that, then you have to make sure to know that black men will then start to write parts where black women are. Well, I'm not going to go there, but let me just say that it's a shame. It's beautifully produced. Sound quality is great, excellent, everything. But just that aspect of making Booker T look like a sexist, made the morticians like a misogynist, rapist, just the husband a cheater. It was just another way to tell the story. And you wouldn't expect anything less from some of the same people. Even though LeBron James did, I'm glad LeBron James did produce that, right? Executive produce. But some of the other people on there, from the Harriet movie. And that they're making black men seem like they are animals. And while other people are getting a pass, as usual, the white investors, well, they were the saviors of the film for her, and it made it seem like only they were able to make her rich. No black man was involved. All right, people. So I'll give that's a 7.9 averaging out. We're not going to even go through it. Let's go to 12 Monkeys, because we are in the middle of a pandemic, and 12 Monkeys, a classic, 1995. A movie in 4 acts. Now, movies are supposed to be done in 3 acts, but 12 Monkeys is done in 4 acts, right? So, Act 1 introduces the audience to James Cole, which is Willis, right? So let's go through the main cast members first. Bruce Willis plays James Cole. Madeline Stowe plays Catherine Raleigh. Brad Pitt plays Jeffrey Goins, and David Morse plays Dr. Peter. Right? All right. So, like I said, 12 Monkeys is in 4 acts. Act 1 introduces the audience to James Cole, which is Willis, played by Bruce Willis. He's in this world, right? And you don't know, it's a future world, and you don't know if he's a soldier or a prisoner by the way he is, where his bunks are, the way the bunks are. They could be futuristic soldiers, or they could be futuristic prisoners, right? And so you don't really know at first. It's not clear until he's summoned by the scientists, right? Act 2 begins in 1990 when we are introduced to the psychiatrist Catherine Raleigh, essentially Raleigh, played by Stowe, who is introduced to a beaten Cole who's chained in a cage. Does that sound familiar? The theme Cole's not believed. The theme of Cole
Right.
not being believed is introduced when he's placed into a mental institution where Cole is introduced to Jeffrey Goins, right? Who is Brad Pitt, portrayed by Brad Pitt.
Right.
The use of parallelism with what's playing on the TV. The TV is a character in the film, much like in Children of Men, another film about a dystopian world that we spoke about last week. Make sure that you go back and watch that review as we review films concerning pandemics, right?
Right.
With what happens in real time, it is an ingenious touch by the writer and director. Do we have the writer and director? Let's see. Once Cole is introduced to Jeffrey, the inciting event happens. See, you set up, so it's real interesting because it's an Act 1, right? Which really just introduces you to the world that Bruce Willis is in, this futuristic world. Then when he's shot back to the past, this is time travel in this, right? So when he's shot back to the past to 1990, it takes a little longer for the initiating event.
Okay, so here on IMDb, writing credits, Chris Marker.
Okay.
Screenplay, David Webb Peoples and Janet Peoples.
Yeah.
So let's see who the director is.
So in Act 2...
Okay. Directed by Terry Gilliam.
Yeah, Terry Gilliam, right. Once Cole is introduced to Jeffrey, the inciting event happens, right? Which also, you already know the dramatic need of of Bruce Willis. Yeah. You already know what the dramatic need is. He's trying to make a phone call, and because he tells the Stowe's character that he is trying to get information.
Right.
So you know that he's slung back for that reason, right? Act 3 moves forward to 1996. Now remember, the movie came out in 95, so automatically what the main happening is a year ahead of when the movie came out, right? Where we meet the doctor, psychiatrist, Riley again, successful lecturing about her book,
right,
where we're introduced to Dr. Pete, David Morse.
Right.
The body of the story is told here where Cole and Riley take a road trip, right? So they take a road trip and you're introduced to the character and you find out that he knows certain things that are happening in that period then. And she discovers that what he's saying is the truth, right? Act 4 finds Cole figuring a way to finish his mission. The agent of the pandemic is present in the story. So you find out who is actually behind releasing the contagion, right? And so we're not going to give too much of the details away. We just set up a synopsis, but it's in Act 1 through Act 4. It's very interesting to have created a film like this, where it's Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, because usually films are Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, like a play. But this one has an extra act because you're fully introduced to him before he goes into this, to what will be considered the normal world from the dystopian world. Now, as a film, laying out, it's a detective, sci-fi, thriller, with action.
And they're dealing with what we're dealing with now, a virus.
A virus.
Different type of virus.
A different type of virus. And much like what we talked about at the top of the show, about how the white inferiority groups are trying to use COVID-19 as a bioweapon, is much like what this contagion is in 12 Monkeys. There's a lot of twists and turns and misdirection in the film, which makes it very interesting. And you should watch this, because when you're not believed, when you're not believed, and you're trying to save the world, there's a problem.
What did the president say today? He said we're at war.
We're at war. That's what he said. We're at war, and he wants to solve it, right? The use of flashback to connect Cole's experience present with the past future, I give that a 10. Cinematography 10. Storyline through line 10. Arc of characters 10. UMA work, that's a makeup artist. That's a 10. Location and set design 10. The confusion brought by so-called people in charge, the rich, the poor, those in power, that's a 10. Right? So what would you give?
Definitely a 10. The writing, and of course the acting. The acting is superb. We talked about the acting while watching it again. So it's nice to see it again, because it's been years since we originally saw the film. And it's just scary comparing
what's happening now
to film. So it's kind of like, what is it? Life imitating
art, or art imitating life, and vice versa. But what's real good about it, this film has that 90s sensibility, right? And the 90s sensibility, right now, we haven't seen anything that has come up for it, because it's a build from the 60s, 70s, and 80s by the time that you come into the 90s, right? And so most of the people who were doing this are children, and the last directors that may have been from starting the baby boom, and people who are of the generation of the civil rights, the babies from the civil rights movement are in the movies, right? And the 90s sensibility, the music, the use of film still, which has that grain that is just an incredible thing, the grain on the film, but yet still the clarity, the sound, the use of the effects and everything, beautifully done. The film depicts the red tape a anti-hero goes through trying to save the world, and most likely the people won't be saved, right? So this is what we were talking about. Now, when Foster laid out the thing, that what they're not telling us is that everyone is going to get this. You know, I mean, that is like a real horrifying thought, right? It is. And do you have the stamina and the healthiness to survive for 2 weeks?
That's why you have to be ready. It's just like what we talked about earlier. What's mostly left in the grocery store, like fruits and vegetables, and that's what we need in order to regenerate. Regenerate our system to stay healthy. So, you know, and also we saw a lot of like medicine and stuff, you know. So now kind of like the VA, right, has canceled most elective procedures, just like many hospitals in America are doing. They're doing the same to focus on this virus and helping the patients who have the virus. So that's why it's important. They mentioned on the news like a week or so ago, make sure you have your like Tylenol, your cough syrups, your medicines, like all of that kind of stuff is important.
Don't let them,
because if you can't be seen in the hospital, then at least you'll have some of the medicine you need for just general cold.
Then you just have to
self-medicate.
But see, don't let them fool you, because they came out finally and said the reason why they were saying don't wear the mask is because they were trying to hold the mask for the professionals. So make sure you have your mask. Make sure you have your gloves,
bandana, a scarf across your nose.
Because if it is fact that the white inferiority groups are out there trying to spray this, we showed you the video, right? We showed you the video of examples of this happening, right? And if people are out there and they can come up to you and have it, wet hands and shake your hand, and if you happen to, or they can cough.
Yeah, so the purpose of showing that was to when you are in public, when you're getting on the elevator, when you're on the subway, when you're just out, period, pumping gas.
Pay attention.
Pay attention. Put on your gloves.
Put on your
gloves. Yeah, just
have
your
gloves.
winter gloves, something. Have your hands covered. You know.
That's right. And do not touch your face.
Right.
Right? And don't let anybody come up to you with a spray bottle. They're talking about spray bottles. They're talking about all kinds of things.
Yeah.
Things, the white inferiority groups, like I said before, I don't like to call them superior white supremacists because they're afraid.
Right.
Or so that makes them inferior because they're afraid of a black planet. But that's another story for another time. They're practicing something called accelerationism, where they work to destabilize the society because they believe once the society falls, then they can instate Nazism into place. And we know what Nazism was and what it stood for. And I believe that's that person who wrote that. Let me look in my notes here because I had it. I kind of abbreviated because I knew that we had guests on the phone. Right? But his name is James Mason. He came up with this concept. He has books out. Look him up. James Mason. He's 67 years old. Believes Nazis cannot take power as long as the existing U.S. government is still in place. Right? So anything to destabilize the society is what they're doing. So when you're out there, why the American government, I believe, the different governments, different cities, they know this because they've been tracking these race extremists. They've been tracking them, and they know that this is what they're doing to spread the virus
and for them to release it to let everybody know, like.
Well, actually, Yahoo News released
it. But someone tipped off the news.
Yeah, but the news, the talking heads don't talk about this. So this is very important. We here at the Film Review are going to bring you the information. So you have to remember that this is happening, and this, if I knew this, and if I knew that, and I'm in government, and I've been tracking it, the FBI and all the other federal organizations have been tracking it, then I'm going to try to find a way to make sure that the people are off the street.
Remember the woman? She tried to spit on a police officer.
Yeah, that's right. She's threatened to spit on the police officer, and he arrested her. FBI agents, law enforcement, and non-white people. Right. So if you say, well, let's go on out to spring break, and you got some of them have swoopy hair, and they're partying with you. Well, they're trying to get you sick so you can take it back to grandma, mother, father, or back to someone that is affected, with a pre-existing condition, to wipe them off, and it starts discontent, and it destabilizes the society.
So it's important to stay safe, healthy, and informed. Like right now, I don't know if I have a feeling some people are. Do you think not everyone's taking this serious?
No, they're not taking it serious.
Because the thing is, well, first of all, like right now in the hospitals, there are a shortage of ventilators and face masks, which is like really, that's scary. And to know that they're turning, we know they're turning elective surgeries away, but some people are being turned away from in the hospital because, of course, they have to focus on the COVID-19 virus. But General Motors have offered to they're going to be making the ventilators, and 3M they're doing the face mask, And the FDA today, they just approved COVID-19 tests that will give test results within 45 minutes, Because prior to that, it took days to receive the results back.
It started a couple of weeks, went to days.
Yeah, and so now they did approve a 45-minute results back test.
But the reason why we chose 12 Monkeys, so that's 2 movies you need to watch. Children of Men, that is after the aftermath of the contagion, and then 12 Monkeys shows you after and before and during, right? The reason why we chose this film is because look at the Dr. Pete character and listen to his philosophy on what he believes about the contagion, right? Once you get past the misdirection, listen to Dr. Pete when he meets the psychologist getting an autograph on his book, that she's signing her book. He bought the book, he gets an autograph. Listen to what he says and listen and watch his demeanor in the film, and you will see what's going on, right? And that's why we chose 12 Monkeys, because each one of these films teach you something about pandemics and if they're used as a bioweapon, right? So people
that before we the Surgeon General, right?
Okay.
Surgeon General Dr. James Adams.
He's really stepping up.
Yes,
I text him. I mean, I tweeted him because I told him, I said, man, when we see you, you're just standing there. You know, I didn't know if he really had anything to say or anything, or if Trump was just using him as furniture, right? So it's furniture. But I tweeted him and I said, man, you are, because you see all Caucasian up there, right? And or you see Asian or you see Indian.
He's a lone black person,
right? But I'm just in period,
right?
But black people are absent in the battle to kill the spread of the virus. And I told him, man, you have to speak up because you represent our interests as American blacks to be seen as having interest in solving and eliminating COVID-19.
Yeah, so the site that he gave, coronavirus.gov, right, for information regarding that. And then Google is building a website to let you know where the nearest testing sites are, locations are where you live. So that's google.com/COVID-19.
That's it, people. So look, this has been another robust episode of the film review, right? And go back and listen. We went through the whole litany. We had heavy hitters in the industry that are doing things, and this is what we do. We bring the people together to make it happen, right? This is the conduit that does it. And make sure, people, that you know that we have that special, because you know things are not going to be the same, right? As we close out, the things are not going to be the same. So that's why we offer for independent filmmakers, we offer the coronavirus shutdown. Now, we talked about this weeks ago before they started shutting down, but we knew that this was coming because time keeps on slipping into the future, and you can predict. So the coronavirus, the new normal shutdown, where you're able to send in your secure screeners to Lordland Enterprises at hotmail.com. That's Lordland Enterprises at hotmail.com. And we will watch your film, review it, and have you on for interview for free. Because you need to make sure, we are making sure that you push out to the people and that you continue and that people have something to watch. We do our thing. We don't blatantly say openly like our guests, which we do not disagree with at all. But I just do it in this way and say, come on, so that people will be able to go to your platform and generate revenue for you. And we do this for free. So get your secure screeners into Lordland Enterprises at hotmail.com. And I was contacted by someone that we will talk about in the future, because we have a couple of films coming up. And we were also contacted by someone who does some distribution. So we're going to talk about that in the weeks to come, right? But stay tuned. You have been watching, and we have been very grateful for you watching, and we are happy and glad to bring this platform to
and
you.
each week we're going to bring you some type of information.
That's right.
Regarding COVID-19.
And we want to make sure that we bring this information to you because you need the straight facts.
Right.
You have been watching the film review. Movies, music, culture, politics, society podcast. Yes. We're your hosts. I'm Crazy D.
Tracy.
And we review movies, music, culture, politics, and society. And we will see you next time on the film review. And am I ready? Am I ready? Am I ready for the closure? Am I on the right one? I don't think I am. But people, here we go. And we will see you next time on the film review.
The Film Review, movies, music, culture, politics, society podcast, interviews, movie reviews, and more. Live Sundays at 5:30 p.m. on Facebook at Crazon Dion.
Hey everybody, this is Lunell, the original bad girl of comedy. I'm here at the Link Promenade in beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada, and you're watching the Film Review.